Lately, I've been talking a lot about the infrastructure bill and the Build Back Better bill. In my opinion, this is how they're planning on implementing the Great Reset in the United States. And currently, the infrastructure bill has passed, and the Build Back Better bill is halfway there. It's already cleared Congress, and it's currently sitting in the Senate. Odds are it's going to pass, and I don't think it's going to be a good thing, obviously. So, what does this mean? They said that this is already paid for, which we know is not true, and it turns out a lot of that funding is going to be coming from the states. So let's go and take a look at this article from The Hill. Build Back Better is bad for the states. I feel like that's kind of the understatement of the year. In their largest effort to radically transform America and expand the size, scope, and power of the federal government, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has vowed to pass President Joe Biden's Build Back Better Act by Christmas. The $1.75 trillion plan, which is more likely to cost $5 trillion, passed the House on November 19th, 2021. The only way we can stop this bill from becoming law is if you go and write your senator. If you think that this bill is a bad idea, we need to do something. We need to go and mobilize, write our senators, and tell them that we don't want this. And if they do vote for it, vote them out. It will force states to fund unsustainable programs and blur the lines between the federal and state governments. This undermines the very foundation of the United States. One of the biggest aspects of our country is states' rights, and this will go and erode and destroy that. You can't have one-size-fits-all policy for the United States. Not all states are alike. Texas is vastly different than California, Oklahoma, Oregon, or Florida, or New York. It's just not going to work. The very idea is if you don't like the state that you're in, you have the ability to go someplace else where you feel that you're a bit more of a cultural fit. The promise of more federal money comes as many states prepare to spend the second tranche of the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan Act funds and receive funds from the $1.2 trillion Infrastructure Improvement and Jobs Act. A further influx of federal cash would overwhelm states already swamped with more money than they can spend effectively and efficiently, as well as fuel and sustain high levels of inflation. High cost-sharing provisions and strict spending conditions of the BBBA would shift significant portions of the bill's costs to state governments, while forcing them to implement progressive policy priorities to qualify for federal grants. And there you have it. If you live in a red state that is not for any of these policies and they want to get federal money, well, you have to go and implement them, because if you don't, you're not going to get anything for the federal government. This is a way of forcing compliance. These requirements are part of the claim that the legislation is completely paid for, since it leaves the states on the hook for an array of unsustainable programs like universal pre-K, Medicare, Medicaid expansion, and elements of the Green New Deal when the federal government share runs out. So the states are going to be left holding the bag. Massive federal funding programs have historically led to unsustainable spending at the state level. For example, federal relief funds and the American Rescue and Recovery Act of 2009, or the Obama-Biden stimulus, led states to establish a variety of new programs for education. Once funds dried up, the states found themselves on the hook for a multitude of programs with no federal assistance in sight. Various provisions from the BBBA also force states to adopt, implement, and fund programs for which federal funding is limited. Seriously, when this video is done with, go and write your senator. The White House's official Build Back Better website outlines the administration's plan to subordinate state governments, including universal pre-K and expansion of the Child Care and Development Block Grant. Let's go and take a look at the White House website and see what they have to say. I'll make sure to include a link in the description so you can go and check the site out. Now, one of the things I want to highlight is this cartoon that they have. And it really kind of illustrates how they want the government to take care of you from cradle to grave. And it starts off with Linda, who is a working mother. She works for a local manufacturing facility and makes around $40,000 a year, and she's pregnant with her son, Leo. So once her child is born, Linda begins receiving the child tax credit of $300 a month or $3,600 annually. Basically, this is to go and help cover the costs of groceries, rent, and medicine. So the government's not only going to go and help with rent, medicine, and groceries, they're also going to go and offset the cost of daycare. The government's trying to be involved in every aspect of a person's life, as I stated previously, from cradle to grave. So Leo turns 3 and he's now in pre-K. And the funny thing is they say high quality pre-K. And if you've ever been into public school, you can make arguments whether that's high quality or not. And these days, public education feels more like indoctrination than anything else. And after Leo graduates from high school, he goes and gets a Pell Grant, which allows him to go and attend a community college, furthering his indoctrination. And thanks to his community college and the United States government, Leo is able to land a good-paying job that is unionized, working on wind turbines. You see how all this is playing together? And here we are back at Linda, and now that she's elderly, she's going to require home care and hearing care, and of course that's going to be all provided to her by Joe Biden and the federal government. And the cycle is just going to go and repeat itself with Leo. Why take responsibility when the federal government can do it for you? The BBBA not only places a significant financial burden of the universal pre-K on the states, but it also allows local entities to directly access federal funds, circumventing the wishes of the taxpayers and their duly elected state representatives who do not want to participate. Once federal funding expires, state and local governments are responsible for covering the increased costs generated by these unfunded mandates. The Biden administration promises to expand Medicaid services to more than 800,000 Americans currently on state waiting lists by allocating additional federal funds to the states for this purpose. And an extreme alteration of intergovernmental relations that puts Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal and Lyndon Johnson's Great Society to shame, the BBBA will force the states that choose not to expand Medicaid to do so. Part of what might be called a great dystopian model in which the federal government manages every aspect of a person's life from birth to death, which I already went and highlighted over at whitehouse.gov. The coercion of states to embrace progressive policies don't stop at education and Medicaid expansion. The legislation also contains a plan to force states to adopt elements of the Green New Deal under the guise of environmental justice. What the hell is environmental justice? And this is actually coming from EPA.gov. Learn about environmental justice. Environmental justice is the fair treatment and meaningful involvement of all people, regardless of race, color, national origin, or income, with respect to the development, implementation, and enforcement of environmental laws, regulations, and policies. I have no idea what the hell any of that has to do with the environment. I guess I'll just have to take the word for it. Provisions include $250 million in grants to state and local governments to expand equitable outdoor access to non-federal lands for members of underserved groups, and in addition, $250 million to support underserved forest landowners, whatever the hell that means, to aid in climate mitigation and carbon sequestration and storage efforts. And again, I find myself asking, what does the environment have to do with infrastructure? Oh, that's right. It's the Green New Deal. These grants would allow national lawmakers to achieve their goals by commandeering state and local government control over state and privately owned land. Yeah, let that one sink in. So apparently, not only will you not own anything, neither will the state governments. These vast federal grant programs threaten to erase the division of authority between the state and federal government established by the Constitution. Through coercive federalism, the BBA would confiscate states' power as independent governments and establish them as submissive tools to implement an extreme agenda. That's right, folks, that extreme agenda is going to be the Great Reset. Aided by the return of earmarks as well, federal lawmakers can use federal funding programs like those featured in the BBA to force states to adopt their policies. The dangers of the BBA extend beyond concerns over the legislation's wasteful spending on desert fish and freshwater mussels, drug price controls, impact on inflation, and contribution to the national debt. If enacted, this legislation will allow the federal government to fundamentally reorder the American system of government and use the states as pawns to implement progressive priorities. To preserve constitutional federalism, Congress must reject the Build Back Better Act. Folks, you know what has to be done.
Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, we have a deep content library that includes interviews with everyone from Mike Cernovich to Megan Murphy, so go check it out. If you'd like to see more, please consider supporting the show by visiting unsafespace.com/donate. You can find us on all the major social media platforms, at least for now, and you can find a community of like-minded individuals on our Unsafe Space chat on Telegram. See you there.
Warning. This is an unsafe space. Dangerous ideas have been detected. The content of this production has not been authorized by Dr. Fauci. All praise be to his name. The following co-conspirators have been asking too many questions. You know what to do. Once the Maxwell trial is over, we promise there will be no more pedophiles among the ruling class. Just one more jab to combat the Zeta variant. Oops, I mean the Omicron variant. If you think about it, no one should be allowed to express opinions. But don't. Think about it, I mean. That's not your job. Thinking has been scientifically proven to be less efficient than compliance. Science, scientific, and scientifically are registered trademarks of the World Economic Forum. Unauthorized use is prohibited. Computer voice courtesy. Never mind, that last line is fake news. Please disregard it and return to your safe space immediately. There will be cake.